For the fourth straight season, the Cleveland Cavaliers and Golden State Warriors will battle for the NBA championship. Does LeBron and crew have a chance to pull off the upset? Also, it's never too early to talk some college football. All that and more. This is Stuck in the Middle. Welcome, everybody. It is Thursday, May 31st. This is Stuck in the Middle. My name is Elijah Campbell, and in the room with me is Marthony Sanders, and joining us via cell phone call is Xavier Dupree. And, guys, the big news tonight, there's a big basketball game tonight. For the fourth straight year, LeBron and crew, I don't even mind calling the Cleveland Cavaliers anymore because we all know who the team is.
Yeah.
And the Golden State Warriors, probably the best team of our lifetime, are playing again for the fourth straight year. Now, before we get into game one and any of the specifics, as just sports fans, are you guys tired of seeing these same two teams every year, or is it to the point where if no one's beating them and these are obviously the clash of the giants is what we should have every year?
I guess if you're not a fan of these two teams and if you're like a Raptors fan or the Rockets or anyone else who's come miles and miles away from where they were maybe 3-4 years ago, and they get to where you're at now, you might be a little tired of it. But at the same time, 4 years in a row, yes, it has never happened. This is the first time ever, pretty much. This has happened in any major sport. But in a way, this has been going on like that in basketball for a minute. You think about it in the 80s, how much the Celtics and the Lakers faced off against each other. Those are classic matchups year in and year out. So somewhat in a way, it's kind of like you could be a little tired of the same two teams going at each other, but at the same time, you have to appreciate what you're witnessing here, because probably this year out of all 4 years might have been the toughest for both teams to get back to the finals. So I think in this one you kind of can appreciate it just a little bit more than maybe the other three, because the other, pretty much the two out of the last three were, just about, guarantees that, these were going to be the two teams back in the finals. But, this year was kind of the hardest, I would say, for both teams to get back. So it kind of made it a little entertaining. So I wouldn't necessarily say that tired of it. Is it expected? Yeah, but tired, it's getting there, but not quite.
Yeah, Xavier, what about you?
I have to agree with Sanders. It's not. Yeah, some people might be tired of seeing the matchup, it's fourth straight year. But Sanders really hit on the head. This was the toughest year for both teams to get back to the finals. And at the beginning of the season, but everybody, okay, Cavs and Warriors again. You had maybe OKC will do something. Houston got Chris Paul, so maybe they'll do something. But everybody really honed in. Okay, we're gonna see a part four of the Cavs and the Warriors, and this was the toughest year for both teams to get back to the finals for two different reasons. The Cavs, it was tough for them. They lost Kyrie Irving, so now it's just LeBron and Kevin Love, and so LeBron had to will his team back to the finals. And then for the Warriors, it was just the different matchups they played. They had to deal with going on throughout the playoffs, and so it's like you said, some fans might be tired of it. They might be tired of seeing the matchup, but you have to appreciate the greatness that we're seeing right now between two teams to be able to continually go back to the finals. Every year, for the past 4 years, and so I think for sports fans, at least for me, I'm just hoping for a competitive series, man. That's it.
Yeah, and I think it's what many people were hoping for. And last year, the way it ended with one team winning in 5, and a couple of those games were beatdowns. There were only maybe 2 close games. In that, I can't remember off the top of my head, but personally, I love it, and I feel like this is what the NBA's always been. And Marthony, alluded to the Celtics and the Lakers back in the 80s, and that was the best rivalry in pro sports at the time. And this is kind of what we're seeing right now. And the whole storyline of this is the best player to ever play the game against the best team ever assembled is an interesting storyline, and it makes for great TV. And you know what LeBron's going to do. LeBron's going to come out and put up 40-point triple-doubles, and that's not always going to be enough to win. That's what's going to keep you like tuned in. And honestly, with that type of storyline, yes, if you watch the Stanley Cup Finals, you have better games, and there's obviously a lot more parity, whereas there's never been parity in the NBA, even from the start of the league and the 40s, 50s like to now. Like there's just no parity, but it's still the product that it is still amazing. It's going to get all types of viewership just because there is no better ticket or better view in pro sports than LeBron James and the Golden State Warriors. So this is awesome for the NBA. I think this is great for the league. And this just shows how strong the league is where this might be the most predictable league in all of pro sports. And we're still tuned in. We're still talking about it all the time, and it's still major headlines. And I feel like a lot of people have gotten tired of it. And personally, for me, I never will. I'm cool with these two teams making it as long as they're assembled, as long as LeBron's still in the NBA, and as long as still the Golden State Warriors are still a team. This is something I'm incredibly cool with seeing year in and year out. And we talked about how even though last year it wasn't a great series, and we would like to see it become a great series. After watching both these teams in the playoffs, and now especially now knowing that Kevin Love is healthy and he's a go for tonight for Game 1, what kind of chance are we going to give the Cleveland Cavaliers to winning the same? We saw on ESPN where Jay Williams said that he's picking the Cavs to win, and I don't think they win. But do they steal 1 or 2 games, or do you guys think they push it to 7, or do you think they really give them like a fighter's chance?
I mean, of course, as long as you have that man LeBron James on your squad, you're capable enough of getting definitely 1. I don't think pushing it to 7. I'm not quite sure, but I mean the thing is the Cavs getting Kevin Love back. The Warriors still don't know how much longer they can go without Andre Iguodala, so that's something to look into to kind of peek in, because that's usually like the main guy outside of probably Draymond Green that guards LeBron possession after possession. So. I think, of course, they have a puncher's chance to definitely get 1 or 2 games because we know like what LeBron is capable of. But it's just the mystery is how it's been all this whole postseason is who else is going to step up to help give him that extra boost.
Xavier, do you give Cleveland any shot to win this thing?
I want to, man. I really do. I really do. And I'm not a LeBron fan. I like LeBron, but I'm not just the biggest LeBron fan. I think more so I'm rooting for the Cavaliers just to maybe save face, but I think this could get bad. I really think this series could get bad, and the Cavs have to come out tonight and they can't mess around with Golden State. As long as you have LeBron, like Marthony said, you have a chance. Mm-hmm. You have a chance. Anything could happen. Let's knock on wood. Steph could get hurt. He's having ankle problems, or something could happen to anybody on the Warriors. And now we have a whole different series. Or everybody's playing, but LeBron is getting help from his supporting cast. So you just never know, and we all expect, LeBron to do his thing, and he'll probably average another triple-double this finals and all that. But as long as they have LeBron, it's tough to count them out. I definitely see them getting. I can definitely see them getting 2. I can see them getting 2.
2 games, yeah. I see it like this. I see this series going one of 2 ways. It's going to go like it did last year, where Golden State wins in 5 or 4, and they just blow them out. The Cavs can work their tail off in the first half and get like a 15-point lead at halftime, and the Warriors have a Warriors third quarter where they hold you to maybe like 14, 15 points and they're scoring 35. And that will just break your will, and you're not coming back and winning that game. You could have a lot of those. Or if this goes to a Game 7, by any means, if Cleveland's able to close out some of those games, survive a Warriors third quarter for maybe 2 games, if it goes to 6 or 7, Cleveland probably wins it, just because, especially if it goes to Game 7. I almost guarantee you, even on the road in a Game 7, that LeBron would beat Golden State. It's because you can't give him that one shot.
Yeah, I would have to agree with if this series go to 7, it's gonna get really interesting. It'll get really interesting. And I think the nightmare of 2 years ago, what LeBron and the Cavs did, in Game 7 2 years ago in Oracle, I think that'll start to pop up again, and the Warriors might be maybe not timid, but those memories and all that, everybody will bring that back up. 2 years ago in Game 7,
you're not going to forget it.
Oracle, LeBron and Cavaliers stepped into Golden State and won the title. So, things like that will come back. If this series goes to 7, Golden State fans should be concerned.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. Just because the fact of with the series just going to 7, when this is like I think they said it's like one of the biggest odds, the biggest separates of like favorites and the underdog in NBA Finals history. Just about this goes to 7. It's a lot of people that's gonna especially as Golden State fans. Yeah, they're gonna be worried. Now I think what might happen is if it does go to 7. The guys like Draymond and Steph and Clay, the guys who've been there before, who was on that 2016 team, they will probably play it off and say, hey, well, we've been here before. We know how this works. This is Game 7 back in our house. This won't happen again. But this team is fairly different from this year's team is fairly different from the 2016 team, because you got guys that this is some of them the furthest that they've ever gone. I mean, we saw Nick Young, how he celebrated or lack thereof celebrated with the Western Conference Championship. This is guys that never been here. Kevin Durant never gone to a game 7. The most he's played is 5 games, both times in 2012 and in 2016. For him to go 5, so this is something. There will be something new for him, and somewhat in a way. And when those big games come up, he's been kind of disappearing a little bit. So, and we really don't know. And honestly, if it does get to a 7 like that, all the pressure is going to be on Golden State. No one is going to care. No one is going to care that Cleveland even pushed it to 7. People will probably be excited that they just pushed it to 7. But if it goes to 7, and like we said, LeBron pulls it out, because that's the one game that you only need to be crowned the champion. People are gonna. I hate to say it, but people are gonna look at this Golden State team kind of like how they did Miami the first year they went to the finals and didn't pull it out. Like, hey, y'all supposed to be the best team here. Y'all supposed to win consecutive championships year in and year out now, because you got, arguably 3 of the top shooters in the league, one of the best defenders in the league. One of the better coaches in the league. It's just when you line up your team against another team, 9 times out of 10 you're better than them at everything that's possibly supposed to be done on the basketball court. So what happens? And people are kind of waiting for that too. They're waiting to see this one time where Golden State doesn't pull through just because of Kevin Durant being on this team, where it's just to say, hey, we knew that, okay, you lost. This is on you. Like, I don't think no one is going to pretty much harp on the Cavs not winning it this year because they're not favorite. But if it goes to a 7 like that, people are the murmurs are going to start, and then maybe people are starting, the Golden State fans are starting to get worried, and the players who never been in that moment could be afraid of that moment. So that's one thing that definitely, Golden State doesn't want. I'm pretty sure they want to end this just as quick as they did last year, because if it prolongs, that's just another chance that you're giving the Cavs and LeBron James. And we saw what happened with that in the Boston series. So, I just hope that they get it together. I kind of agree with you, Elijah. It can go one of 2 ways. Either it can end quickly, or it might go the full way, and then who knows what happens in a Game 6 or a Game 7.
There's no pressure. There's no pressure
whatsoever
on the Cleveland Cavaliers to win this series. This is it. Last year, yeah, there was some pressure. You know, you still had Kyrie Irving. Now he doesn't have Kyrie. There is no pressure on the Cleveland Cavaliers and LeBron James to win this series. Nobody. You said Jay Williams is picking them. There aren't too many people that are picking Cleveland to win this series.
Not outside of Ohio, yeah.
Nope. Yeah.
Exactly. So for them to even push it to 7, we would just be in shock and in awe, and we would be looking not so much at Cleveland, but at maybe we'd be looking at Cleveland and say, okay, wow, how well they're playing. But we'd be looking at Golden State and saying, okay, excuse me, Steph Curry, 2-time MVP, Kevin Durant, MVP, Klay Thompson, one of the best shooters in the league, Draymond Green, Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, okay, Andre Iguodala's there, but that's no excuse. What's going on? You playing against LeBron and Dupree. This literally is LeBron and the Cleveland Cavaliers that's coming into Oracle tonight, and we're going to Game 7. What? So all the pressure, like you said, Sanders, will be on Golden State and LeBron, Cleveland Cavaliers. They will walk into Game 7 Oracle with house money, because regardless, even if they were to lose Game 7, we would still be in shock of, wow, Cleveland pushed this team to 7 games. This Cleveland team pushed Golden State to 7 games. All the pressure, no matter what, all the pressure is on Golden State. And I'm gonna say that we need to put more onus and more responsibility on Kevin Durant. He gets the pass. I think he gets the pass too much. He gets the pass too much. He's too good and too great to not get a pass for some of those games. Like you said, Sanders, he showed up small in some of those games against the Rockets. He was shooting bad, turnovers, and no one really talked about it. Everybody talked about, how good of defense Houston played, and James Harden and Chris Paul. No one really ever talked about what was going on with Kevin Durant. He has to step up. We need to. I won't say criticize and I won't say down him, but more responsibility needs to be put on his shoulders. I think because he's playing with Golden State, he has Steph, and he has Klay, he has Draymond. Kevin Durant can kind of move off to the side, and it's just like, well, these are the guys that are, Steph is the leader, not me. So talk to Steph about, what's going on. If there's a problem or why we lost, that's not my problem. He's too good. He's the best player on that team. He needs more responsibility. If this series was to go 7, we would need to be pointing and looking the finger. If Kevin Durant plays bad, we need to be looking at Kevin Durant and saying, what's going on now? You left OKC to go win championships, and yeah, you won the first one, but now they're back again, and they're down a man, and you're not showing up. What's going on?
Yeah, I understand trying to put a lot of pressure on KD, and there were some games in these playoffs where the Warriors looked vulnerable, and I thought that might have because they had too much pressure on maybe Kevin Durant. They looked at one person to say, "Hey, pull us out of this hole." Because if it wasn't for the third quarter, the Warriors don't win Game 6 or Game 7 against Houston. They just played so well because they stopped ISOing the ball. You saw a lot of possessions where they'll have Kevin Durant on one side of the floor and then 4 other Warriors spaced out away and letting Kevin Durant go one-on-one, when that's really not their strength. That's really not, you don't utilize Steph Curry, you don't utilize his passing ability, you don't utilize Klay Thompson's shooting ability and his ability to get open without the ball whenever the ball just gets stagnant and no one's cutting, moving, setting screens. And the Warriors actually have had a tendency to fall into that, especially in these playoffs a lot. You saw it in the New Orleans series, the games New Orleans won, where the offense got stagnant. You saw it in all their losses against Houston, where they just stopped moving. They stopped moving, and Houston did play a lot better defense, but at the same time, I feel like we should give Kevin Durant a hard time for not moving the ball. Can he score one-on-one? Yeah, he can score one-on-one on anyone in the league, but that's not what the Warriors do best, and that's not what won them the championship last year. It's not what won it for them in 2015, a couple years ago. Their first title, they did it by moving the ball, constant ball movement, and just staying away from ISO ball, if you will. And that's really, I guess, going to be the big difference, and that's how we're going to find out if LeBron and Cleveland gets in their heads by taking them out of what they do offensively, and if not, if they continue just to move the ball, that's when you could see this be a short 4 or 5 game series. But with that being said, before we move on to college football, what are your pick? Your pick, and how many games is this NBA Finals going? I feel like we're all picking Golden State. Marthony? Someone shocks me.
Yeah. I say Warriors in 5, maybe 6. I give them, Warriors in either 5 or 6, but definitely Warriors.
Xavier? Nope, we lose him.
So you still there?
I think we lost him.
Uh-oh.
Until then, I'll go. I'm with you on that one. I think 5. I gotta go 5. So I think if it goes past 5, then Cleveland wins it. They find a way to somehow win it. And for Golden State, they got to put them out. Do what they did last year, and that's just whenever Golden State or whenever Cleveland gets a little momentum, you squash it early, you D them up. And you just continue to move the ball, tire their defense out. Cleveland's not very deep, so if you tire them out, then you're going to get the looks, and they're going to fall eventually. They're not going to do what Houston did in Game 7 and miss 27 or something.
27 in a row.
In a row, yeah. Golden State just doesn't do that. Houston, it was surprising they did, but I mean, give me the Golden State Warriors team, and they're getting open looks. Then I think they're fine. Xavier, who wins in how many games?
I'm gonna go Golden State in 6, man. I'm gonna go Golden State in 6. I would love to pick Cleveland, but they're real sporadic on offense, and on defense they have shown at times that they aren't all in the same place, and they have too many defensive lapses. And against a team like Golden State, where they can explode like we've seen in the third quarter. These playoffs, that's not a recipe that's not a recipe to win. So I think just have to play 2 games in Cleveland, and LeBron is going to be LeBron throughout this series. I can see them getting 2, so I'll go Golden State in 6.
Okay, Golden State 6. So a 1-game improvement from last year for Cleveland. We're marching a little closer to college football. Athlon came out with their annual. I got mine. I've been reading. It's a great summer read for anyone who's trying to get into college football. And an interesting thing, first thing I want to bring up is they had player rankings for the best group of 5 players in the country, and Brent Stockstill, NTC's quarterback, is on that list, and it's pretty high praise for him. And I think they ranked him as number 18 quarterback in the country out of all 130 or so FBS football teams. Xavier, you see this guy in practice every day. You're on the team with this guy. How deserving is Brent Stocks of all the praise he's getting, and how big is he to this team, and how crucial is he to the success you guys have on offense?
Well, he's very deserving of it. Brent is one of the hardest working guys I've been around high school, and collegiately, he's one of the hardest working guys I've been around. He's a real student of the game. He knows the playbook inside and out. He's kind of he's like an OC on the field, and just to see some of the throws he makes in practice, everyone else gets to see him on Saturdays, but to be at practice throughout the whole week and see some of the throws that he makes is unbelievable. So he's well deserving of that ranking of 18th in the country out of 130 quarterbacks, and he means a lot to this team, man. Obviously, last year he got injured, and you kind of saw what happened with our offense when he was out. We hit and miss sporadic a little bit while he was out last year, and so he means a lot to this offense and a lot to this team. It makes a big difference when you have when you have your leader out there, when your guy is out there, battling with you. It means a whole lot more offensively and defensively to know, Brent, he's going to do his thing. We can count on him to make the right plays, and just be Brent, go out there and do what he does. So it means a lot to this team, and it's very, very deserving. He's very deserving of that ranking.
Yeah, and I like what you alluded to earlier, and that was the offensive production drop-off after he got hurt. You could tell the offense just just wasn't the same. And without Brent Stockstill, MTSU football are two totally different teams. Assuming he stays healthy this year and there's a full season, Marthony, this is for you too. What is the honest expectation, given the schedule, having to play on the road for 3 SEC games, and only having 5 home games all season long? What is the honest expectation of this team in terms of numbers of wins?
In numbers of wins,
Mm-hmm.
I can see us getting about. And I don't have the schedule in front of me. I can see us getting about 8+ wins, man. If we can keep everybody healthy, I believe that if we can keep everybody healthy, we'll be okay. Last year, like I said, it was the offense, the defense improved tremendously, and Brent got hurt, Richie got hurt, we had some guys on offense get hurt, and that our offense was, some games it was there, some games it wasn't there. And I believe as long as we can keep everybody healthy, man, I think we can shock a lot of people. I really, really do. This is probably the closest knit group of guys I've been around in a long time. We're all close. We all want to see each other get better. We all working real hard coming up for this fall. And the schedule does present a challenge when you only have 5 home games and you have 3 non-conference games that are on the road in SEC country. It's going to be tough, but that you got to do what you got to do. And if we can go and get those road wins, we make sure we take care of home field and we win those games at home. But we go on the road and handle our business, man. I think we can shock a lot of people.
Yeah, Marthony, what's your expectation, I guess? You have the schedule in front of you right now. How many wins do you see on that table, assuming everyone stays healthy?
Definitely. I'm kind of right there with Xavier. I'm looking at a possible 8 to 9 wins just because of with your 3. But the way they have to get those 8 to 9 wins is definitely they got to get one of those 3 non-conference games. Mm-hmm. And they have to get one of those 3. Whether it's Vandy, Georgia, or Kentucky, they have to get definitely one of those 3 to get them 8. Because I say your guaranteed wins are FIU, Charlotte, Old Dominion. You should want to beat Western. They're down this year. Mm-hmm. UTEP and possibly UAB. I think those are your givens. If you can find a way to get one of those 3 between Kentucky, Georgia, and Vandy. Oh, I'm sorry, UT Martin. That's UT
Martin.
Too.
Yeah,
and if you can find a way, which is it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough starting out. How your first 2 conference games are against the 2 teams that pretty much kind of embarrassed you last season between FAU and Marshall. So if you can find a way to redeem yourself and definitely get one of those games, if not both, that would get you your 8 to 9 wins. And I just think if you start out on the right foot. Heading into conference play, you can at least get one of those games or 2 of those. You might not lose another conference game the rest of the way, and you can just ride it on out until December. So, and 9 wins might just get you enough into the conference championship game this year, just depending on what happens with mainly FAU, because I think that's where everybody's kind of going with them because of what they did last season.
Right.
And they pretty much didn't lose anyone from last year's team, but. 8 to 9 wins is possible. 7 is definitely a guarantee. So being bowl eligible again this year is definitely a given. Like we said, if everyone stays healthy. But in hindsight, I see 8 to 9 wins as well, and possibly another bowl berth. And depending on what happens in conference play, those 8 to 9 wins could still definitely get you into the championship game against probably a Louisiana Tech, who's probably going to be the favorite in the West again this year. So. It's going to be pretty interesting to see. It is a tough schedule. There's no gimmies on all 12 of these games. Even with UT Martin, that's not a gimme.
You don't want to look at them as a gimme until that's how you end up dropping some of those games.
That's not a gimme. People don't know nothing about UT Martin. People that asked Memphis from a few years ago. They've knocked off some bigger schools that's bigger than them plenty of times, and they're always one of the best in their conference as well. So none of these games that they have right now is a given, which I think what makes this season a lot more special. And then with Brent coming back, and hopefully he gets a full healthy season, him and Ty could probably work on a connection together. And what's going on with the running game, the offensive line is another year older. That should help out a lot, and the defense is just going to get better and better. So 8 to 9 wins is what I'm looking at right now for the Blue Raiders for next season.
See, that's a good goal, and I can see 8. I don't know if I see 9, because Florida Atlantic, if I'm an MTSU fan, would scare the hell out of me, because not only are they getting a majority right back, the people they are getting back is Devin Singletary, and DeAndre Johnson's going to be healthy to play quarterback. And you honestly don't know. He might be a little bit of a question mark because he hasn't played in a while, but talent-wise, he's as good as any Power 5 quarterback in the country. He's got the talent. It's just
supposed to be at Florida State, so I mean.
Exactly, yeah. He's a last chance you guy. And Lane Kiffin is doing an amazing job at Florida Atlantic. Nobody sells a group of 5 school like Lane Kiffin sells Florida Atlantic, whether it be on Twitter or in press conferences, anything. Lane Kiffin's a salesman, and he does an amazing job at selling FAU. Offensively, I feel like Brent and company, they have the tools and they have the weapons to put some points up on Florida Atlantic, but stopping them defensively is going to be really hard. I know they improved a lot, especially towards the end of last year, and it showed in the last couple of games, especially in the bowl game. So the improvements that the defense made some big plays down the stretch to win it.
Definitely.
But Florida Atlantic's a lot different than Arkansas State, and there's some horses on that FAU squad that could easily start, for any Power 5 school. And that's what separates FAU. I don't see anyone in Conference USA beating Florida Atlantic. Marshall, I think, even though it is on the road and that will be an obstacle, is very winnable. Like, I know they beat them like a drum last year here in Murfreesboro, and that was one of the Brentless games. So you didn't get anything going offensively. Imagine if you have if you get some offensive production, and you can hold Marshall at bay for a couple of quarters, you're in that game. And those 2 games right there are the 2 biggest competitions that you have in your division. Everything else should be a breeze.
Everything else should be a breeze. And on top of that, from the teams that you're playing that's in CUSA West, you avoided the top 2 teams. You didn't play Louisiana Tech or Southern Miss.
Or North Texas.
You
missed out on them too.
You avoided all of those guys. Only the teams you're playing out west is UAB. I want to say UTEP. Yeah, UAB, UTEP, and I think that's it.
Yeah,
everyone else.
So.
You play UAB and UTEP, so you don't even face the top 2 teams from the West for the cross division matchup. So if you could, like I said, if you could find a way to win the games that you're supposed to win, and then see if you can get one of those 2 between FAU and Marshall. More than likely Marshall than FAU. But if you can find a way to get one of those 2 and then somehow pull off one of those SEC upsets, you can get definitely 8 wins, possibly 9, just depending on the matchups and anything that could happen. Because I mean we don't know what may happen. Something could happen to where by the time conference play starts and someone's missing their quarterback, and it might not be us. It could be another school missing their quarterback, and it's a lot can happen between now and when conference play starts in September.
Football, I know, it never stays healthy.
And just talking about Marshall and FAU, if you guys can go back and look at those games, the FAU game, we were in that game. That game was tight going always to the fourth quarter. It got out of hand in the fourth quarter. That's when FAU pulled away. But that game was tight for the first 3 quarters. And then in Marshall, we played in Murfreesboro, and we'll have 2
turnovers pretty much killed that game.
Yeah, 2 first half turnovers. You're talking about it going from 24 to 7 at halftime to 10 to 7 at halftime. So
exactly.
Those 2 games, they both teams, FAU pulled away and so did Marshall, but there were some things that neither game, like y'all mentioned, neither game, Brent played and stuff like that. So we played those guys tough. So I'm just saying, I understand the hype and everything around those teams. Both those teams are good teams, well coached. But we played both schools. We played both teams tough, man. So we get FAU at home, and we'll go on back up to West Virginia to take on Marshall. So both those games will be fun. We're looking forward to both of those.
And thankfully, FAU is after a bye week. You'll play at Georgia, and then you have a bye, and then you return home to play FAU. So you're going to have a week of rest after playing, against one of the best teams in the entire country in Georgia. And that leads me to this. As a player, now, like we've mentioned a couple times that you're playing at 3 SEC schools throughout the year, and of course, Kentucky and Vanderbilt are Kentucky and Vanderbilt. In terms of the SEC, they're just guys. They're just there. Georgia isn't just a guy or just guys. That's the big boys of college football. How exciting of it for a player is the opportunity to play at Georgia on ESPN2 in the national spotlight and really have a chance to. And I'm not even saying winning it. You keep it close. That's an awesome look for the program. For a player, how exciting is that opportunity to play against one of the premier programs in college football?
It's very exciting, man. It's very exciting, though. You don't get too many opportunities like this. A lot of schools, a lot of Group of 5 schools. You play. You're out of conference. You get 3 out of conference games, so you might play. 1, maybe 2. Big schools. Big. Power 5 schools, and we have 3 SEC schools on the slate. Not to mention, like you said, the runner-up for the national championship. Georgia Bulldogs, and personally for me, it's exciting. I'm from Georgia, where I live. I'm maybe 45 minutes away from Athens, so I'm not that far from Sanford Stadium. So it's exciting. I know guys that play at Georgia, and I know a lot of guys that are Georgia fans. So that game for us is exciting because, like you said, it's on ESPN2. You playing at Georgia. That's going to be an exciting game, and just for me personally, it's going to be real cool to come back home and be able to play, and in front of friends and family and things of that nature. So that game is definitely exciting for us.
Yeah, and obviously the factor for you is playing in Georgia where you're from, and there's probably a lot of guys on MTSU's roster who are from Georgia as well. So it's a homecoming in a lot of ways for them, and people getting to watch them on national TV. Big opportunity. And one last thing. Go ahead.
And I just want to suggest. As we're talking about Georgia, but all 3. Like you said, we're playing 3 of them. Yeah, Vandy and Kentucky are not on the caliber of Georgia, but it's still, we play Vanderbilt every year, and we haven't played Kentucky, but you're still going to 3 SEC schools, and so all 3 of those games are going to be tough. But we got to show up and play. That's it. Just show up and do what we do. Saturday,
September 1st, the first one at Vanderbilt. Didn't do too well last year, hosting them here, and I knew it was a big disappointment for a lot of you guys and a lot of MTSU fans. What's going to be the biggest key to pulling off the upset at Vanderbilt this year? 2 years ago, you guys were close, and that playing at Vanderbilt, and obviously the weather delay really made a big difference in that game. But going at Vanderbilt this year, Brent's senior year, the offense looking like it is, and with an improved defense, what are you guys going to have to do to Vanderbilt in order to knock off that upset?
Well, first things first, we got to play our ball. We got to play our style of football. On offense, we got to do what we do on defense. Like I said, defense is much improved. Defense continue to play hard smash mouth football, and that's what we are probably going to intend to do on offense too. Just go in there and we play Vandy basically every year. So the whole thing of always it's Vanderbilt SC. We've been there before, so that really shouldn't play a factor. It'll be their first the first game of the season, so it'll be rocking in Nashville. But we just go and play our game, man. Just go and do what we do. I really haven't looked at the Vanderbilt offense. I know Ralph Webb isn't there anymore, so I don't know what their running back situation is looking like, or I don't know what their quarterback situation is looking like either.
Shermer will be back.
But,
yeah, Kyle Shermer will be back.
Okay, so Kyle Shermer will be back. So, they get the quarterback back, but, we know that, Ralph Webb made that offense, he made that offense go. And so, we'll see, they're going to put more onus on, Shermer to throw the ball, or, do they have another running back like Webb who's going to be a workhorse? We don't know, but regardless of whether they're going to find, what they decide to do on offense and on defense, we just have to go in there and play tough, hard-nosed football for 60 minutes. Go into Nashville and play tough. That's it. That's all you can do. Just leave it all out there on the field.
For sure, and I feel like that's a really winnable game. I'm on Bovada.com right now. I'm trying to find the odds. I'm just curious what the odds are. Marthony, I don't know if you know what because I know they had the lines for a lot of the Week 1 games.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here we go. View all.
Yeah, those games are always fun. Those games against Vandy are always fun, man. Whether we're home or away.
Has to be. And it's got to be like a little rivalry too. The inner Tennessee.
Oh, yeah, good. And you always get a big. They came to us last year, and there was a big following of Vanderbilt fans. And when we went to them 2 years ago, there was a big section of blue.
Yeah, 6.5.
Yeah,
6.5.
Yeah, Vanderbilt's favored by 6.5. So that's in college football, who's known for large lines. Like Louisville's 25.5 point underdogs against Alabama.
God.
Yeah, 25.5, and then you have 6.5 for MTSU Vanderbilt. So Vegas thinks you guys have a pretty good shot. You guys are keeping it within a touchdown. So
yeah, we appreciate the guys in Vegas.
Bovad is giving you guys some love. Xavier, thank you for calling in. That's what all the time we got. It was a good conversation. I'm excited for college football. If for anyone who hasn't, I can make a suggestion. Get an athlon, man. Yes. An athlon is the way I prepare for it. This isn't an endorsement. This is just the opinions and thoughts of Elijah Campbell. But that's really gotten me excited for college football season. And it's fun. And I'm ready to go ahead and get it started. September can't come fast enough. And it's only May 31st.
Only May 31st. Okay, June is tomorrow, so that just makes the time go by even shorter. And it's a lot of interesting Week 1 games. That's going to be coming up. A lot of interesting Week 1 games. So it's definitely going to be a fun opening weekend in college football. It's just the fact of just talking football again is pretty good because after a while. Like you said, the NBA gets so predictable. You get tired of saying the same things about the same teams. But OTAs is now coming up in the NFL, and then fall camp's gonna be coming up pretty soon for most of the college sports, most of the college football teams. So it's a nice time of the year right now, where you think it's an off season, but there's really not an off season.
There isn't. Yeah, and that's the big thing of football. It's all year round, man. All year round.
Sir,
yeah. That's about
get back to football, man. Get ready to get back to football. It's going to be fun.
We talking fantasy football here for long. We'll start drafting in like 2 months.
Yeah.
So that's coming. That's coming fast, man. That's coming real fast.
Oh yeah.
But you guys be watching the game tonight? Game 1 NBA Finals.
Oh,
have to.
Yeah.
Have to. That's on the dock for tonight. But this has been another podcast for Stuck in the Middle. Thank you for listening. We record every Thursday, same time, same place, Knuckleheads. And don't forget. Go Caps. Caps here.